Welcome in, everyone. We will begin in just a few minutes. While you're getting settled, feel free to open up the chat and share where you're joining us from today. Right. Party started in just a second here. Good afternoon, everybody. All right, let's go ahead and get this party started. We've got a nice big audience today. Whether this is your first look at inflow or you've used our accounting platform for years, today you will see the newest piece of our business intelligence suite dashboards. Deliver a quick visual insight that feeds the rest of our BI tools that we offer. All right, good afternoon and welcome to Build It, Track It, Win Business Intelligence for Hotel Owners. Whether you are brand new to Inflow or you already rely on our accounting platform, thank you so much for joining us. Today, we're going to focus on dashboards, the first component of Inflow's broader business intelligence suite, which show you how to surface key metrics, keep every level of your organization aligned, and do it quickly enough to act before month end. My name is Mike Hopkins, Product Marketing Manager at Inflow, and I am your host for today's webinar. Joining me is Andrew Taylor, our lead designer for business intelligence. Andrew is actually the one who created the dashboard engine that you will see today. Before we dive in, just a few brief housekeeping items. Microphones and cameras stay off to help improve the audio quality of the webinar, but please feel free to ask your questions, type them in. There's a little Q&A button at the bottom, and we will try to answer them as they arise. Alternatively, I will collect them for Andrew and I to answer at the end of this call. By the end of this session, we hope you'll be able to understand how Inflow can help you do things like tracking what matters, right down to your coffee and soap expenses. We'll show you how to align your numbers at every level, so your above property team and your hotel GMs view exactly the same metrics. And finally, and maybe most importantly, we're going to show you how you can build Inflow's new BI dashboards fast, and show you how you can do it yourself. Now, to understand, and before we move forward, I want to help you understand a little bit why these three capabilities are crucial. So let's consider where profit most often slips away. So these are, going back really quick, these are our three objectives: to track what matters, align every level, and build trust. But let's ground in real world frustrations we hear from ownership groups every single week. Research shows that hotel owners consistently encounter the same three gaps where profit tends to evaporate before the month end. No matter the region or the portfolio size, these blind spots tend to surface again and again. And so let's examine each one. First one being the RevPAR variance to budget. This is really just the difference between your actual revenue per available room and your budgeted target. Because RevPAR is often reviewed as a monthly average, a few weeknights can be masked by stronger weekends. hence the recent 4th of July, making underperformance really hard to spot in time to adjust those rates. The next one, and this may be not the most common term, but it's called labor drift. This is the gradual increase of your labor cost as a percentage of revenue that incurs when unexpected things like overtime, minor schedule overruns, or unplanned staffing additions accumulate day after day. Because each variance is small, the drift often goes unnoticed until the month-end P&L reveals a higher than budget to labor ratio, which by the time the excess cost is fully baked into your period's results, it's too late. And lastly, supply creep. Steady overspend on recurring consumables, things like your hotel toiletries, linen, coffee, paper goods. These costs edge upward through small daily variance that accumulate across departments and properties until your P&L reveals an unexpected overage. But we have to ask ourselves, why are these gaps discovered so late? Well, it's because traditional reporting is always retrospective. So let me put the timing problem in visual terms for you a little bit. Here's the story of a single linen invoice, and I've represented this on a graph that hits your system on day one. It waits in the normal process, like an approval queue. It finally posts to the ledger around day 25, and then it doesn't appear on your month-end P&L until day 30. So all month long, you can't see that linen purchase or purchases are edging above your budget for that expense. There's no alert, there's no prompt. It's just silently creeping, hence supply creep. With an inflow BI dashboard, when that invoice hits the general ledger, your BI dashboards are updated. You gain instant clarity of that overage. So that means you gain almost a full month to rein in those orders before a modest overage balloons into a full-blown budget blowout. The linen invoice is really just one example of how a small variance can hide until it turns into a budget surprise. But every portfolio, all of our hotel portfolios, any expense that we have is susceptible to margin pressure in different places. So before we step into the next part, I'd like to just really quickly find out from all of you guys in the audience where it hits your operation the hardest. Let's just do a quick poll. Tell us, where are you feeling profit slipping first? Is it labor cost rising faster than revenue? Is it RevPAR consistently coming in below budget? Is it supply purchases creeping over your budgeted expense plan? Maybe you just can't see the numbers soon enough. Let us know. We'll give it a couple seconds here so you guys can go ahead and vote, and we'll see. Labor costs rising faster than revenue. It seems to be a pretty common trend that we're seeing across the states right now. And folks also can't see the numbers soon enough. So this is great. Thank you. It looks like, well, now we've got a bit of a dead heat. People are going back and forth, but we'll say that labor costs rising faster than revenue seems to be the most common pain point in today's audience, followed by folks just don't have the visibility. They can't see the numbers soon enough. And that really aligns with kind of what I was saying before and what we're hearing across the industry. It reinforces why real-time visibility really matters. And so with that in mind, let's keep this party going. I want to pass the torch over to my colleague, Andrew, and he's going to give us all a firsthand look into the journey in the world of business intelligence dashboards. Andrew.
Awesome. Yep. Thank you, Michael. Let me steal the screen share.
Go ahead. Have at it.
Okay. So thanks everyone for joining today. So we have quite a few features in our business intelligence platform, but today we're just going to focus on dashboards. We're going to look at the high-level functionality of dashboards, and then we're also going to build some metrics to shine some light on those 3 blind spots that Michael had mentioned earlier. So just to get started, keep in mind that I'm going to be doing this demo as an administrator. So that means that I have the full suite of permissions for dashboards. That means I can create dashboards, and that means that I can manage dashboards as well. Now, if you haven't created a dashboard before, when you go to business intelligence and you click on portfolio dashboards, you're going to see this empty state, and create your first dashboard by clicking the Create Dashboard button up at the top left. If you have created a dashboard before or one's been shared with you already, you can go to your dashboard list. You can click your dashboard list and then click Create New Dashboard. So that gives us the Create Dashboard modal. We can choose to build one from scratch, or we can choose to build one from a template. We can give our dashboard a name. We're going to call this one GM Dashboard. And then we can give it a description as well. We're going to give it KPIs for GMs. And then we can create our dashboard from there. So I use that same template to create this dashboard that we're looking at, which gives us a solid foundation to build off of. We have the ability to filter by date range up here. So we have yesterday, current period, last period, year to date, and trailing 12. There'll be more customization to this moving forward. We also have the ability to filter by our properties. So if you configure groups within our system, either by brand or geography, you can quickly filter using those groups. And then you also have the ability to filter by individual properties as well. Now, keep in mind that this will mirror the permissions of the individual user that's viewing the dashboard. So, for example, if I were to share this dashboard with a GM who only has access to one property, they're only going to see metrics that pertain to that one property, and they're only going to be able to filter by that one property. So like I said, that template gave us a solid foundation to build off of, but we want to make some changes. So we can go up here, we can click edit, and this puts us into edit mode. We have the ability to change the layout. Maybe we want to do 3 columns for a more compact view. We can do a 50-50 split. We also have the ability to drag and drop widgets wherever we see fit, whatever aligns to our workflows. And then once we're happy with how we have that organized, we can also add additional metric cards. So if I click on add metric card, I get the metric card library. And so we have 2 tabs. We have quick metrics, which are like semi-baked metrics that you can then configure and visualize however you see fit. And then we also have a completely customizable metric card builder. So this is where I want to hone in on those 3 blind spots that we had mentioned earlier and build some metrics to shine light on those 3 blind spots. So the first one that we discussed was that RevPAR variance to budget. We have a quick card for RevPAR. So we'll search for RevPAR. And then once we select that metric, we can then configure and visualize it over here on the right. So we have multiple card types. We have a number card, we have a bar graph, we have a line graph, we have a progress tracker, and then we also have a table view. For this example, we're going to use the line graph. We're going to give our chart a title. We're going to call this RevPAR over time compared to budget. And then we're going to select that comparison of budget. So this is really good for a GM specific or a property specific dashboard. So you can see that trend of your RevPAR over time and then compare it to how you're trending towards that budget or that goal that you have set. The second one that we talked about, which seemed to be the winner in the poll, was that labor drift. So we have quite a few metrics now in our dashboard for labor. So I'm going to go over here to this category filter, and I'm going to select labor. So we have total labor hours, we have cost per occupied room, we have minutes per cleaned room, we have labor cost as a percentage of revenue, and then we also have labor hours by position. So going back to that example of building a GM specific dashboard, we can do this total labor hours metric, and then we're going to leave it on this number card. We're going to give it a title called total labor hours compared to budget, and then we're going to select that budget comparison. So this is a quick glance metric for our GM to hop in and they can see their total labor hours across the entire property, and then they can compare that to the budget. So if it's green and we're trending below budget, great. There's probably not a lot more digging that we have to do. Now, if it's red and it's trending above budget, we should probably do some more digging, figure out where that problem is occurring, right? So with this same metric, we're able to get a little bit more granular. And so we can change our card type to the bar graph, and you can see that it's broken out by department now. So we're going to change our title. We're going to call this now total labor hours by department. And we're going to select a comparison. So maybe this time we want to do more than one. We can choose budget and last year. And now we can see that we have our total labor hours broken out by department. So for that first department, we can see the actual, we can see the budget that we set for that department, and then we can also see last year's actual as well. Let's also say that we don't want all these departments. We just want a handful of departments. We can go down here to this optional filter, and we can select those ones that we just want to see. So maybe we only want to see kitchen, housekeeping, and maintenance, for example. We'll only see those 3 departments in our graph when we pull it into our dashboard. Now, this is great, again, for a property-specific dashboard or a GM dashboard, but maybe we want something at more of a portfolio level. We can go down here to that labor cost as a percentage of revenue, and and we're going to choose the card type of the bar graph, and we can see that the breakout is by the properties that we have permission to. So we're going to give this a new name. We're going to call it labor percentage of revenue by hotel. And then again, we can select comparisons, as many as we want. And then now we have a really good high level portfolio view across all the properties that we have access to for that labor cost of percentage of revenue by the hotels. So those are a few examples on how we can control our labor costs. And then that third one that we talked about was that supply creep. And this is a perfect example for our new custom metric builder. So if I go up here to that tab that says custom and I select that, I have the ability to filter my data over here on the left, and then I can configure and visualize that data over here on the right. So this is our chart of account hierarchy, and this can be done at a very high level or a very detailed level. So an example of a high level view would be we select the revenue account type, we can do the departmental main group, and then we'll select all of our subgroup ones. So this is essentially our departmental revenue breakdown. Now, if I leave this as the number card, this is going to be our departmental revenue, essentially that bottom line figure for our whole entire departmental revenue. Now, if I go to the bar graph, I have this additional setting for the x-axis where I can group that information. So if I go down here and I select property, this is now going to show for each hotel that I have permission to, that bottom line total departmental revenue. But I can also go in here and say, I want to group this by the subgroup one. This is now turned into the departmental revenue breakdown. So for banquet, you'll see a bar, for communications, you'll see a bar, and for food and beverage, you'll see a bar. So you'll see that breakdown. And again, we can select any comparison we want. So now we're looking at the departmental revenue broken down by those departments compared to the budget that we've set for those departments. So that's an example at a very high level, how we can create a custom metric card. But let's say, for example, as an organization, you set some controllable expenses KPIs that you really want to track. Maybe last year you were overspending like crazy, or maybe vendors were hiking up prices and you didn't catch it till the last minute. We can go over here and we're going to clear our filters. We're going to select the expense account type, and then we're going to go the whole way down here to our chart of accounts. And for our example, we're going to focus on cleaning supplies. So I'm going to filter this further by searching for cleaning, and then I'm going to select those cleaning supplies, those controllable expenses that I really want to hone in on and track. So now that I have that selected, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to change my title, controllable expenses, and then we're going to group that x-axis by those chart of accounts that we chose. So again, that means that cleaning supply will be a bar compared to its budget. Cleaning supply other will be a bar compared to its budget. And this is really good for aligning the above property organizational goals with the at property personnel. So a GM can hop into their GM dashboard. They can see what those goals are. They can track those goals, those expenses to the budget that you have set, and they can track that day in and day out. So this is a really good way, like I said, to align those goals. Are there any other questions when it comes to building metric cards or just the high level functionality of dashboards in general before I jump into us sharing this dashboard?
It's really cool, Andrew. I'll ask a question. How long would it take the average person to build a metric card if it's their first time?
So there is a slight learning curve to it, but we found from the research that we did that the power users, the above property ones, the controllers, those that have a good understanding of their chart of account hierarchy, it doesn't take long at all for them to grasp it. When we did the testing, they seemed to grasp it pretty quickly, but we do understand that there is some nuance to this. So if you're not as familiar with your chart of accounts, there could be a little bit of a learning curve, but it's essentially plug and play. Whatever you choose and whatever you group by is what you're going to get.
Great. Feel free, folks, if you have any questions, to write those in. And if for some reason we don't get to your question today, you can always email me or Andrew, and we would be happy to answer those questions for you.
So if there's more questions coming in, I'll just continue to the sharing aspect of it, and then we can answer those at the end.
Sounds great.
So let's say those examples that we went through, we add them to our dashboard, and we're ready to share that GM specific dashboard with our general managers. Let's get out of this metric card library. We're going to cancel out of that edit mode. We didn't make any changes. And then we have the ability up here to share our dashboard. So when we click share, we get the share modal, and we have the ability to share that with an individual user or entire roles. So for our example, we're going to share this with the general manager. So we search for general manager, and we can click that. So what this means is that any user that has the role of general manager will now have access to this dashboard. So now that we chose who we want to share it with, we can choose how we want to share it. So over here, can view is the default, which means that when I share this with the general manager role, they're going to come to this dashboard and they're only going to see metrics that pertain to the properties that they have access to, and that's it. Now you can give them can edit access, but we added a sensitive tag here because that gives them the full suite of permissions within the dashboard. So they'll be able to add their own metric cards. They'll be able to create custom metric cards. They'll be able to change the layout, and they'll also be able to share this with other users as well. So we're going to leave this as the can view default, and we're going to click add. So now we've added the general manager role to this dashboard. So again, any user that has that general manager role will now be able to access this when they come to their portfolio page. They'll see it in their dashboard list. If at any time we want to change those permissions, we can come back to the share modal. We can go to the right of the user or the role that we have given access to, and we can change those permissions as we see fit or remove them completely from the dashboard. So that is, in a nutshell, how to create a dashboard that aligns the organization from the top level goals down to the property.
Great. Looks like we do have a couple of questions coming in, Andrew. One is about, does Inflow provide training to users if I needed to have all GMs trained? So that's a great question. So Inflow does provide training. So as part of our onboarding process, and we have a very robust and dedicated US-based training team that goes through the entire suite of products that we provide, and we go from high level all the way to very granular in terms of our training capacities. And really, our number one goal is to make sure that everybody feels confident and successful in the product. So rest assured that our training investment is continuing to grow, and we want to see you successful in using the product. So with that said, I will also mention that so Hotel Tech Report, which is one of the industry publications and considered a trust engine in our industry, we are the highest credentialed business intelligence and accounting product on that platform right now. And so we'd be happy to walk through all of those different pieces of training and support materials that we provide. Next question. This is a question for you, Andrew. Can you share with outside users like ownership if they don't have inflow access, or do we need to add them as users?
No, not right now. They have to be within the system. They have to be an Inflow user. We have thrown around the idea to be able to export some of these cards as JPEG and then also export the entire dashboard as a PDF to be able to share externally. But right now, you can only share so that somebody can come and see the view or view the live dashboard. They have to be within the organization, within Inflow.
Right. What about sharing with department heads? What does that look like?
That's the same as kind of what we walked through before. So we could go to share and we could choose to share it with those individuals. So let's say that Alani was your director of operations. We could choose her to share it with. Or if you have multiple within that role, we could say director of operations or yeah, director of operations could work. And you can share it with every user that has that role.
All right. Let's see. Another question just came in. How long does it take to implement Inflow? That's a great question. Thank you so much for asking. We really pride ourselves in our ability to implement and onboard our customers. Our target window is really within 30 days, right? We like to have folks give us their information as soon as possible as once they decide to move over to the Inflow suite. And then we set up a complete onboarding and implementation plan with them. But really, that's another one of the things that we pride ourselves on is being able to move our new customers over really quickly and have them set up and be able to successfully operate in the Inflow platform within 30 days. Great. Anything else, Andrew? Otherwise, I have the next slide I can show you guys.
Just
Great
one
questions.
thing to touch on the first question that regarding training.
Mhm.
When it comes to business intelligence and dashboards, some of the things that we're building out is some how-to videos. So we have a high-level how-to video on how to use the dashboards that you can see through the help guide, but it's also all on our knowledge base. But we're also going to do more detailed videos about how to create dashboards for specific users or roles, and also how to really use that custom metric builder as well. So we'll get more detailed and granular videos to help people build out these dashboards and create multiple dashboards for their organization.
It's great insight, Andrew. Another question just came in. Can you set the controls so ownership can only see BI dashboard you shared? So it sounds like they just want to make sure that it's private, right? Not open to everybody.
Yeah, so when you create, if you have the permissions like we spoke about at the beginning, um, to create a dashboard and then also to manage a dashboard, that dashboard that you create is strictly yours, right? If you have the ability to manage dashboards at the organizational level, you can go in here and you can switch owners or share that with additional people. So that's the power user that's usually only saved for an admin or an owner to be able to see all the organization's dashboards and share it with other people if you needed to. But if somebody doesn't have that access, that dashboard is strictly yours and it's only going to be yours. So it will be private until you explicitly share it with other users.
Another question, do we charge by the user? Um, no, we do not. We actually charge by the property, and I think another great question. Differentiating factor is you pay per hotel, and there are some additional things that you can add on with additional modules like labor. You could, we didn't talk about it, but we have bookkeeping services, we have payroll services. So we have a lot of different things really geared towards making your life easier. So if you want to offload some of that stress, work with us. We kind of act like a consultancy that we can come in and really show you um, how to firm up your numbers, improve your profitability, manage labor, get better visibility and clarity into your financial metrics. And I think you'll find that our pricing is very reasonable. Um, okay. If there's any questions that we didn't get to on this webinar, feel free to reach out. My email is michael.hopkins@inflow.com. I'll also be sending a follow-up email to everybody here today. And let me just go ahead and steal the screen from you, Andrew.
Mm.
And I think everybody can see this again. So wonderful. Before we wrap up today, I just have a couple of quick favors that I ask you guys on your screen. You'll see a QR code to scan. It's just got a few short questions, and it's about today's webinar. So I would really like to know, Andrew would really love to know what was useful, what we could sharpen, what topics you'd like to see us tackle next. The survey is entirely about this session. Takes literally about a minute. But that's okay if you don't have a phone handy. I will also send you that link in tomorrow's follow-up email. I'll give you one more second to scan that if you are looking at that now. Right. And final slide of our first webinar of July. If you've got that camera app open for the survey, keep it handy. This is another code, certainly worth scanning. Everything you've seen today, those live dashboards, the custom KPI tiles, even the industry data that we provided to you. It's only a sliver of what Inflow's business intelligence module delivers. BI itself is just one piece of the wider Inflow hotel software platform. If you feel enlightened or interested, if you'd like to see how dashboards can connect with advanced reporting, multi-property accounting, labor management, the rest of our platform, please scan the QR code on the screen. It'll take you straight to our scheduling page where we can run a personalized demonstration for you. On behalf of Inflow, Andrew, myself, just want to thank you all for investing part of your day with us today. We appreciate your engagement, your thoughtful questions. We look forward to helping you put this insight to work across your portfolio. Please enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and we hope to speak with you again very soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.